Okay, look, last week you worked 3 days on your own. One topic, the first one was the Ottoman, the second was the Safavids, which we are going to make some comments about them right now, and also the Mughal, right? The Mughal Empire. And today we are going to make comments about the second, the Safavids, all right? Okay, and this is the introduction. The shortest lived of the three Muslim empires, the Safavid Empire, was nonetheless influential. The Shia faith, declared as the state and religion, unified the empire. The empire reached its high point under the reign of Shah Abbas. Right. Let's see. Look, to start understanding this, it's important to know the following: the Shia, it's a Muslim, it's a religion that is part of Islam, and Islam is divided in the Shia and the Sunni, right? So here is a problem because you have two different groups of people with different religions. Maybe this is going to lead to some trouble, right? So here you can see this map. On the left, you have the Ottoman. We made the comments about this last class, right? And the Safavid, it's in the middle of them, of the Mughal or the Mughal. It is the same. We are going to talk about the Mughal tomorrow and today about the Safavid. So here is the area in Persia, what is now Persia, and they established in this part, right? Okay, so let's make the comment. After the Empire of Timur-Lenk, or we call them also Timur-Lenk, collapsed in the early 15th century, the area extending from Persia into Central Asia fell into anarchy. And the anarchy is when you don't have a government, so it is pretty disorganized, nobody is ruling, and the power is completely on the people without control. So it is a problem. At the beginning of the 16th century, however, a new dynasty known as the Safavids or Safavids took control. Unlike many of their Islamic neighbors who were Sunni Muslims, the Safavids became ardent Shias. So as you can see, the Sunni and the Shias are Muslims, but like, look, for us, it would be like the Christians and the Catholics, right? For example. And we have this ruler. The Safavid dynasty was founded by Shah Ismail, right? It's the person on this picture. He was the descendant of Safiuddin. Safiuddin was a leader whose name was used to name the dynasty Safavid, Safiuddin, right? In the early 14th century, Safiuddin had been the leader of a community of Turkish ethnic groups, and basically in Azerbaijan near the Caspian Sea. Let's see, the Caspian Sea is here, right? So we are talking about this area here, near Baghdad, right? In 1501, Ismail, in his teens at the time, like he was a teenager, used his forces to seize much of Iraq and Iran. Seize is to take by force. Then he called himself the Shah. Shah is a name for a Muslim ruler in these times, Shah or king of a new Persian state. Ismail sent Shia preachers into the Anatolian Peninsula, and that is like some kind of we call it the priests who were sharing the religion to convert members of the Turkish tribes in the Ottoman Empire. So what he wanted to do is to convert the people to Shia, to be a Shia, not a Sunni, right? The Ottoman Sultan tried to halt and this activity, like to stop it, but Ismail refused to stop. He also ordered the massacre of Sunni Muslims. So as you can see, these kind of religious conflicts were also common in those times, and in the same, like it was the same religion, right? But with different perspectives. And so he also ordered the massacre of Sunni Muslims when he conquered Baghdad in 1508. We can see a picture of when he was establishing the new order. Okay. Alarmed by these activities, the Ottoman Sultan Salim I, and we made some comments about this character last class, he advanced against the Safavids in Persia. And with their muskets and artillery, remember that a musket is these kind of guns, right? Long guns. The Ottomans won a major battle near Tabriz. Tabriz was a very important city that and everyone wanted to have. However, Salim could not maintain control of the area. A few years later, Ismail regained Tabriz. So as you can see, it was a fight. And they one people won, and the next time they lost, and then they won again, and then they lost it. So what happened was that during the following decades, the Safavids tried to consolidate their rule throughout Persia and in areas in the west. The Safavids were faced with the problem of integrating various Turkish peoples with the settled um, uh, with the people who spoke Persian of the urban areas. The Shia faith was used as a unifying force. Look, it is what they do. They used religion to make some people unified, but they use force also, right? Ismail made conversions to the Shia faith mandatory for the largely Sunni people, right? So you had to become a Shia. That's why we have the poster here. If you didn't want to become a Shia, you could be exiled or killed, right? So it was more or less what they did in Spain. You had to become a Christian, well, a Catholic, or you could go, right, or die. In a second. Okay, many Sunnis were killed or exiled, right? Like the Ottoman Sultan, the Shah himself claimed to be the spiritual leader of all Islam. Shah, look, when we talk about the Ottomans, we said that the Caliph was the main authority in religion, like the, um, the representation of Muhammad in the world. But here with the Safavids, we called him the Shah, right? Shah is for the um, for the Safavids, but the Caliph is for the Ottomans, right? This okay. In 1580s, in the 1580s, and the Ottoman went on to the attack. They okay. Now again, fighting for the place, fighting for the area. They placed Azerbaijan under Ottoman rule and controlled the Caspian Sea with their fleet. This forced the new Safavid Shah, his name was Abbas, to sign a peace treaty in which he lost much territory in the northwest. Since he lost some power, he had to move in the capital from Tabriz, the city that they had conquered, to a new city that was called Isfahan, right? Then Abbas adorned this new capital with the latest Persian architecture. As you can see in this picture, it is wonderful how they made these buildings. Isfahan became one of the world's largest cities with a population of 1 million, right? 1 million, it doesn't sound very much for us, but for the time, it was a lot of people, like the Roman Empire. Okay, here we have some information. Under Shah Abbas, who ruled from 1588 to 1626, the Safavids reached the high point of their glory. It was under Shah Abbas, right? Similar to the Ottoman Empire, administrators were trained to run the kingdom, right? So, look, if you have a very huge kingdom, you must tells some administrators or rulers and governors to run some areas, right? Shah Abbas also strengthens his army, which he armed with the latest weapons. So as you can see, he was trying to make, oh, to yes, to make a very strong army for his empire. In the early 17th century, Shah Abbas moved against the Ottomans to regain those territories, again, fighting for the same territories. Several European states aided Abbas like they were on his side. The Safavids had some initial success, but they couldn't hold their territorial gains against the Ottoman armies. And the Ottomans, I remember that they were really, really powerful. I think more than the Safavids. And nevertheless, in 1612, a peace treaty was signed that returned Azerbaijan to the Safavids. So it was like, okay, let's go to war. Then let's sign another peace treaty. No, but let's go to war again because I want that land back. No, but now let's sign a peace treaty. It was kind of crazy. After the death of Shah Abbas in 1629, the Safavid dynasty gradually lost its vigor, its power. Here we can see the tomb of Abbas, right? Most of his successors lacked his talent and political skills, and they knew how to rule, but not as well as Shah Abbas, right? Eventually, the power of Shia religious elements began to increase at court and in Safavid society at large. Look, this is important because when you let a religion interfere in the political business of a state, of a country, then it can become really, really crazy. Because if you are really um, a very strong believer of a religion, and your ideas can be also very strict, right? And this can lead to many, many problems and also to violence. So remember that I told you that in the Ottoman Empire, women could inherit property, they could run office in the government, and they could do some of these things. They had some freedom. But guess what happened? In the Safavids, orthodoxy was an important concept. And what is this? Like they go back to the traditional beliefs in religion. And when you speak about orthodoxy, that means very strict observance to the traditions. So intellectual freedom marked the height of the empire. However, the pressure to conform to traditional religious beliefs increased what we call a orthodoxy. For example, all of the Persian women had considered freedom during the early empire, but now they were forced into seclusion, like to live in a small area of the city, for example, and required to adopt the wearing of a veil. And they cannot show their face to other men, for example, right? It is seen as if and they were wearing no clothes at all. So, and that is an offense if they show their face. That's why you can see this is like a march. Women are showing their faces, but they shouldn't, as this one here. In the early 18th century, during the reign of Shah Hussein, the Afghan peoples invaded and seized the capital of Isfahan. Remember, this was the city where they moved the capital to. So fight for this land too. Afghan people invaded and seized the capital of Isfahan. The remnants of the Safavid ruling family were forced to retreat to Azerbaijan. It's like, we don't want you here, you have to go back to Azerbaijan where you really belong, right? The Turks took advantage of this situation to seize territories along the western border. So And we got that, and the Persia sank into a long period of political and social anarchy. As I mentioned before, anarchy is with no law and disorder. Here we have a picture of how anarchy would look like in a country. Okay, life under the Safavids. Persia under the Safavids was a mixed society, and the combination of Turkish and Persian elements affected virtually all aspects of Safavid society. So here we have like the main people who formed this dynasty were Turks, Turkish, and Persians. Okay, what was the role of the Shah? I remember the Shah was the spiritual leader in the Safavids, the Caliph in the Ottomans. Um, the Safavid rulers were regularly supported by Shayas, again, some kind of Muslim um, religion, okay, one group of people who follow certain beliefs, right? In return, the Shahs declare Shia Islam to be the state religion. So, as you can see, religion was really into the government. Shahs were more available to their subjects than were rulers elsewhere. Okay, um, the rulers of this kind of dynasty, they were really familiar to the subjects or to strangers, and they show respect, um, and they even allowed some senior positions of the government and to people from other places, and that was not very common in those times. Um, and another thing that they had is like, um, if you wanted to hold a position in the government, you have to show that you could do it, not just because you were the son of a ruler or of an administrator, but you have to show that you could do it, right? So it is the merit system. If you could do it, then you have the merit, then you can hold it, right? And what about the economy and trade? It was based and basically, well, trade and manufacturing activities were the most important things. Most goods in the empire traveled by horse or camel caravans, and the roads were kept fairly clear of thieves and bandits, right? And the routes for trade were kind of protected. Safavid Persia was probably not as prosperous as its neighbors to the east and west, the Mughals and the Ottomans. I remember that we have these two kingdoms, the Ottomans, the Mughals, and the Safavids. Hammered in by the sea power of the Europeans to the south and the land power of the Ottomans to the west, the Safavids found trade with Europe difficult. Yes, it was very complicated for them to have some trade with most of Europe. And this is the culture. Knowledge of science, medicine, and mathematics under the Safavids was equal to that of other societies in the region. There was a really important artist, Risa Abasi, right? He made these great paintings. He was one of the most respected artists in the time in Persia. They used to silk weave, and the carpets were really, really important to them. And that's it. Basically, and during Shah Abbas, the arts were flourishing a lot. Okay, I'm going to stop recording here.